Welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show. Now, our guest today is Sarah Brooks, a humanitarian who founded the Sparkle Foundation, of course, and as well volunteered in charity work in Africa, Malawi. Now, let's dive deep into her impactful journey. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Welcome.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here and for your journey and so on. We're excited to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So we want to kick off by asking you, what inspired you to start the Sparkle Foundation?
How long have you got? Okay, so I'll give you an abbreviated version.
Yes,
I closed my eyes, pointed at a map when I was 18, and my finger landed on Malawi. So I said to my parents I wanted to go and travel there, went to volunteer for a few months, and when I got there, unfortunately ate too much of the local food, ended up with a twist in my bowel, got rushed to hospital unconscious. They said they need to operate, but there was a really high chance of HIV because they had no sterile equipment. And the doctor said to my friend, I've never done the surgery before, but I'm prepared to give it a go. So you can imagine, my friend was like, that doesn't sound too good. What's the other choice? They said, go to a private hospital 2 hours away, but I might die before I get there. And he said, I'd rather take that chance. He did. I went to the private hospital, had the surgery, spent 3.5 weeks there, came to visit. And he said, Sarah, when you're in that local hospital, there were 300 people waiting in the queue to see that one doctor. And when they saw you, truthfully, because you're white, they prioritised you to be seen first. And you were the doctor for 2.5 hours. When you came out, some of the people in that queue who were children had died while you were being seen to. And that moment just changed my entire life forever. And I made a commitment. I wanted to make a difference to at least one child's life. And 14 years later, we're here, 15,000 children later, and it's been a real journey.
Look at you. I mean, it is a very inspiring foundation and with a very inspiring backstory, right? So how would you, what sparked in your head when you created the foundation? Of course, forget like the fact that there's this inspiring backstory and so on. But maybe often people go like, fine, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be able to succeed at it, and so on.
I think I had so many obstacles that have come my way, and I think when something like that happens in your life, it changes your entire perspective. Like the pigmentation in my skin has basically kept me alive, so that's always been a motivating factor. And then I've seen so much suffering, and I think anyone in today's world, we look around us, we can see it everywhere we look, and there was something within me that was like, I can make a difference to at least one person's life. And when it started as one child, and then it became 10, and then it became 1,000, I was like, actually, I'm no different to anybody else. And if I can be a role model or an inspiration to other people to help them do it, if we all do something and all take ownership to make a difference to one child's life, can we make this world a better place? Yes, I 100% believe.
Is this the life lesson you kind of take on board with you to share with everyone who hears your story and wants to get involved?
Yeah, I think the big thing here when we registered the charity in the UAE, that took us about 3 years, but we finally got there. And it's to encourage people, everyone here in Dubai especially feels privileged and wants to make a difference, but don't know how. Sparkle is that opportunity that can give people the chance. There's lots of things we're doing here, only ourselves in Malawi. Like, we just want to encourage people. Our youngest volunteer is 4 years old. Our eldest is 83, and I genuinely believe everyone can do something, and that's the message, truthfully.
And are you solely based in Malawi, or do you operate elsewhere as well?
At the moment it's Malawi, but we're looking to replicate our model now across Africa, and we do a lot of initiatives here. Volunteering, truthfully, also gives us a sense of something, a sense of purpose, and I think that makes a difference, especially here, to be able to do something. If you wake up every day knowing you changed someone's life,
so you probably think that, maybe your purpose was to go to Malawi, get sick, of course, hope it never happens to you again. And
it did, unfortunately.
So you can just help a lot of kids. So how many kids have you had so far?
So we're roughly at 15,000 at the moment. So we basically support 17 communities in Malawi where there's an outreach of 15,000 people. So we offer medical services, education, community nutrition. We've got our second site, we have a third site coming in March. So we're just expanding. And then it depends what you say, how we're helping, because also, when COVID happened, we ended up with so many volunteers all across the world, over 200, and they said it was the big change for them that being stuck in the house and being able to give back help their own mental health and well-being. So it depends what you say is making a difference.
But I actually have a question. So, of course, you are a humanitarian right now, right? So, have you? Let's say that never happened, right? You never went to Malawi. You've never gotten sick. God forbid, ever happens again. Would have you become a humanitarian if you have never gone through that experience?
So the dream, truthfully, as a child, was to be a TV presenter.
Okay.
So I remember saying to my mum and dad, I want to go and go to war-torn zones and go and tell the stories, give people a voice. My mum and dad said, I think you should go to university and get a degree. And I was like, oh no, but this is what I want to do. And basically, I ended up doing some of that. I was a sports journalist back here. When I first came to Dubai, I was on the radio. And it's so funny how things have come in full circle. Because now I'm presenting, but on behalf of Sparkle and sharing the voice. So
it's like
it's found its way back to me somehow, but with more of a purpose.
That's actually beautiful. That's a beautiful story to tell because, you know, like, again, we all have dreams and so on. So as you were saying, I was like, for sure, there must have been a dream that you have before going through the whole Malawi experience and you know, like being an inspiration to all of the kids and a lot of people, right?
It's a responsibility. I mean, I think even for me, just walking every day, knowing that there's people that are sort of looking for me either to look up to, and it's hard, like, truthfully, in some of the challenges that we face in the sector. And even for me, like, who is Sarah behind Sparkle? Like, that's the thing. I walk around in Dubai and I can't believe that some of the circumstances here that I find myself in, and I'm so unbelievably blessed. And I think Dubai is a testimony to the people that live here. And I was explaining earlier, you know, only a week ago, someone came to me and said, how can we help you? And I said, Sparkle needs a car. Like, we've not got a car. We've got staff members who are driving to events. And 1 week later, they donated me a car, brand new. And it's like, where in the world does that happen?
It's like you're just like manifesting it at this point. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So on the topic of people helping you, what advice do you have for those who want to get involved in charity, whether it's yours or another charity foundation? What advice would you give them?
It takes 3 seconds to make that decision in your mind. Like, I want to make a difference, get in touch. I mean, I think a lot of people have this perception of, oh, I can't do anything, there's nothing, you know, I've not got a skill set. Some of our most valued volunteers, it isn't what they do in their corporate jobs. It's actually, they might be a good cook, they might be good on computers. And I think there is a skill set everyone has that can be given to someone else. So just take that step. And that's what we say at Sparkle, just try us. If we can't find something, then there's nothing to lose. But don't sit waiting saying, I really want to make a difference, but I just don't know how, so I'm not going to do anything about it.
Yeah, you just mentioned the 3 seconds. It takes 3 seconds, right? So did it take you 3 seconds to think of the Sparkle Foundation?
I wish it had taken 3 seconds. No, I learned through failing. There's everyone always says, what's the ingredient? How has it become so successful? And truthfully, we started educating our children and they were falling asleep by 10 o'clock because they were hungry. And it was like, okay, I'd not thought that through. You can't educate children without a feeding program. And then we were losing a child once a month from a preventable disease. And I was like, okay, we're educating and feeding children that tragically are going to die anyway, so we need to bring in a health program. And then I started seeing attendance, it was dropping, and I was like, why are these children not coming to school? We're offering free access to everything. Spoke to the parents, and they said, well, we don't really value education because we don't know what you're doing. I was like, oh. Parents haven't been educated themselves. Let's educate the parents. And I think any parent around the world wants to do the best for their children. So if we empower them, they'll want the best for their children. The best for their children at this moment in time is Sparkle. So we started doing that. And then before we knew it, we had this model. And everyone's always like, wow, how did you think of it? Was it 3 seconds? It definitely wasn't 3 seconds. Was it a lot of struggles, pains to get there? Yes. But I think some of the most beautiful journeys that we've seen in this world has come through failure. And I think as part of my role going around talking to kids especially is if I speak to students when I was 18, if my teachers had seen what I'm doing now, never ever would they have expected this.
We do actually see a lot of stories of like often people who have inspiring stories. You know, they do have like dreams and hopes of like what they want to do, but then they go through something and they just like, it's like a 180-degree shift, right? Which is technically kind of like happened with you and so on. But again, like what is, I would say, like, of course, aside from like the fact that you actually have gone through the Malawi experience, what is one experience like through the whole humanitarian charity, you know, your foundation. What is one, I would say, like moment with a child, or let's say with a parent that you would think changed your life? I wouldn't say change your life,
so
but I would say
many.
like maybe kind of like, yeah.
Okay, I'll go a child and then actually something more similar on a donor. So a child, we had a situation, I was, I think 23, and we didn't have phones when I was living in the village of Malawi, and someone came banging on the door saying, Sarah, come, you need to help. A child stopped breathing. And I'm thinking, goodness, I've done basic first aid at school. Okay, I ran to the situation. The mother was there, the child was there, wasn't breathing. And I was thinking, what on earth do I do? I had no YouTube then to look at anything. So I just remembered having watched a TV show at home, like honestly how to do CPR. So I started doing CPR. And then the mother was like, please help. I was speaking the local language and I was trying to do my best. And unfortunately, the child died. And the situation there, emotionally, I wasn't ready to deal with that. And I didn't know how to deal with it. And the guilt, honestly, that sat with me. But you know, that mother came and spoke to me afterwards and said, we know you tried. And for that, for you to try your best is all that matters. And there's hundreds of other children here. And I saw what you did and you weren't going to give up. And I think for me, I always think back to that as long as we try, just try and do what we can and we see what happens.
Is it a struggle for you? And I'm sure other volunteers could possibly be having this struggle as well, where when you see something so emotional happening, something so devastating, you kind of have to have a hard head, right? Because you always have to keep going. You can't just stop, and unfortunately be upset about it. You have to keep going. And has that kind of been a struggle for you in your charity work where you have to just get back up and keep going?
Yeah, I mean, I think every day is a struggle. Ultimately, we rely on the public for money, support and skills. And also, it doesn't really sit well with me that I'm having to constantly go and ask people for things. And it's like, I'm not asking for me as Sarah, I'm asking for Sparkle. And you're always like, WhatsApps in the evenings being like, is there any chance you could get me this, or we need this? And that is a hard mindset to be in because I'm not used to it. And I think I then think of the children and think this is what we need to do, and they're not numbers on Excel spreadsheets. Like, these are meals at the end that these children are waiting on us to do. And I think one of the most interesting things and concepts is that if you look at our charity, like some of our biggest supporters at the moment are, Palestinians, and with everything that's going on there, and it's like because they know they want to come here because they can make a difference. And I think that's what Sparkle is giving people here. It's not necessarily Malawi per se. It is that we're giving everyone here a chance to be able to change a child's life, and it counts.
So now that we have spoken about Malawi, what is, I would say, what is the future? What is your vision for the future of your foundation?
So we've got two kind of visions.
Two, okay. You can share them both.
I've got one for creating a best practice model for grassroots charities in Africa. We all know sort of the United Nations, how we work on a global scale, but actually small charities, I don't want people to have to go through what I did of 14 years of struggles. I'd be here all day. I'm writing a book at the moment, so the struggles you'll see with that. But I don't want other people to have to do that. Let's work together. The charity sector needs to come together. So we're going to create this best practice model that then, if you said to me, Sarah, I want to go and replicate in Sierra Leone, use the Sparkle model. It's already there. We'll work together. That's our aim. And then the second part of that is 100,000 lives by 2030. I'm not driven by the numbers, truthfully. I'm driven by the need. That doesn't necessarily need to be in Malawi, but I think it's doable, and I think it's a target that we can show and community together. And here in Dubai especially, this is a movement, a change makers, like, join us. Let's create a chance to make change.
How many times a year do you physically go to Malawi?
So at the moment, I'm sort of there a couple of months of the year. It would be a lot more, ideally, if I had a choice. My parents may not agree because the last time I was there, I got malaria for the 5th time. So that was...
well, it's good to see you feeling better.
But obviously for me, going and being with the children is where I remember the why, and sitting at a computer screen sort of 12, 13 hours a day, it sometimes is hard to keep going, and the fundraising and this. So then when I'm with the kids, but the reality is, because it's such a personal story, I have to be the one that goes around and inspires and talks about it. So,
and of course, because you're also the face of the charity, you are representing all of this. So it must be quite hard for you as well, as I said, to constantly be going there and constantly be seeing this sadness. But as we said and we spoke about, you just always have to keep going.
Yeah, it's a huge responsibility, and I think what people don't necessarily appreciate is people judge situations. I'll give you a prime example. People may have seen we were on billboards this last week on Sheikh Zayed Road, and it was amazingly sponsored by Chanel. But yet people are sending me messages on my Instagram being like, oh, we don't need to support you anymore because you've paid so much for advertising. And it's like, no, that's not the case. We've worked with partners to make this incredible thing, and lots of other people help make that happen. So it's constantly having to remind people, I'll go for dinner, people come and say, oh, the charity must be doing well. And it's like, no, I'm not spending donors' monies to eat dinner. I'm allowed to, have a life as well. And I think that's sometimes really hard to try and get that balance. And I'm a human being at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being here. Of course, you guys, it's 9:12 a.m. and this is the most beautiful story Sandra and I have ever heard. I mean, shout out to the Sparkle Foundation and shout out to Sarah for actually having the Sparkle Foundation.
Thank you, ladies.
So, of course, you guys, it's the end of our episode for today. Have a happy weekend and don't forget to tune in again on Monday, same time.